Greetings, everyone. We are witnessing a situation where migrants are being turned away from clinics across the townships in Gauteng. We have seen members of Operation Dudula in some communities blockading clinics to an extent that migrants will not have access to these health facilities. Some are migrants who are suffering from chronic diseases who need to get their medication. Some are on taking HIV tablets and they have been prevented from doing so. The leadership in the migrant community can do so much, but it does not have capacity to go and stand at the entrances of the health facilities and ensure that the migrants have access. It is the duty of the South African state to ensure that every citizen or every person that is within the borders of South Africa is protected by the Constitution of South Africa. It cannot be the duty of the leadership of the migrant communities to organize security or hire security companies that will be deployed in various clinics to ensure that every person has access to the clinics or to the health facilities. It is the duty of the South African government to do so. In any case, it is the duty of the South African government to protect any person that is in South Africa. If a person is in South Africa in violation of the immigration laws, the laws of South Africa are very clear on how these individuals should be dealt with. It cannot be correct that the private citizens will go and blockade or seal off health facilities and demand that certain people that are in South Africa should not access health facilities. It is un-African. We cannot talk of pan-Africanism when we treat Africans in this manner. It's unfortunate, and it would be very unfortunate, if the South African state were to fail the working class on the basis that they are migrants, but to protect the rich, irrespective of where they come from. Because the rich do afford to go to private health facilities and seek medical attention. While a call has been made to us, we are receiving numerous messages on what we do as the leadership of the migrant communities. We can only go and be witnesses. We can only go visit a Cosmo clinic, possible record videos or talk to people that have been affected. But there's nothing much that we can do. But the South African government has the responsibility of protecting everyone. This also speaks to the foreign policy of South Africa and of the ruling ANC towards its neighbors. Recently, we have seen the brutal murder of a prominent lawyer in Eswatini, Comrade Themba Maseko, Tulani Maseko. He was brutally murdered at his home. When there were protests in Swaziland some few months ago, SADC appointed a facilitation team to go and establish the source of the demonstrations or violence in Swaziland. They excluded other stakeholders, the opposition and progressive forces in Swaziland. They went there to speak to King Mswati. How do you resolve the question of Swaziland when you do not engage the progressive forces? How do you expect to have stability in Swaziland when you do not engage the progressive forces? When Mswati is brutalizing the people of Swaziland, ordinary people will only find one route to escape to South Africa. And the South African capital is in business in Swaziland, while the people are being brutalized by the Tinkundla system in Swaziland. And we have always asked this question: what is the basis of a relationship between the African National Congress and the ZANU-PF? And there are a number of observer missions since 2000 from the ANC that have been going to observe elections in Zimbabwe. And they have always pronounced that elections in Zimbabwe have been free and fair, including in 2008, where it took almost 2 months to announce the winner of the presidential elections in Zimbabwe. And the ANC said they were free and fair. In other words, the people of Zimbabwe spoke and they love ZANU-PF, which is incorrect. When the people are being brutalized by ZANU-PF, the only route they find is to cross Limpopo to South Africa. Swaziland is holding elections in few weeks' time. Political parties remain banned in Swaziland. SADC is silent. The South African government is silent. And when the people are brutalized, they are silent. Because the people in different countries must be allowed to express their will through the ballot and start the process of rebuilding the economies in the SADC region, so that poor people will not organize themselves under Operation Dudula and they prevent other black people to have access to clinics. Like I said, as the leadership in the migrant community, we can do so much. We can visit, take photos, take videos. But what does it mean to a person who has been denied medication and this person dies in silence? And I will call on the progressive civil society in South Africa to speak out and take action against this an African culture that is beginning to develop. It is not correct that we, the poor, are fighting each other. When ZANU-PF ministers need medical attention, they simply fly to South Africa. They have the money, they pay. When the leadership in Eswatini, the king and his family need medical attention, they simply fly into South Africa and get treated in the best hospitals because they have money. These are the very people that have destroyed the economies of their countries. And the blame goes to the poor of the poorest, who are then forced to leave their homes. We need, as a people, to begin to introspect. The poor are not the authors of their misery. Some people will say, go and fix your country. People are still recovering from the Kukuraund atrocities that took place in Matabeleland and some parts of Migrants. Some families are still recovering from the political violence that we saw in 2008 in Zimbabwe, when people were brutalized for voting for the opposition. How then do you expect the poor people to fix their country when they vote in a particular way? They are brutalized. Our call as the leadership in the migrant community is that, yes, we are getting all the messages, but there's nothing much that we can do other than visiting, writing on social media that we visited this particular clinic. Yes, indeed, people were denied. We spoke to some, but it is the duty of the South African government to protect every person in South Africa. Thanks, Comrade Instamus Mbuso LC. Comrade Mzansi Patrol says, we are still recovering from apartheid. What makes your pain more than mine? Comrade Mzansi Patrol, I posted in my Facebook page just 3 days ago an article by the late General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, who was the commissar or chief of staff of Umkhonto weSizwe. He was detailing in that article on how ZIPRA and the MK fought together against the Rhodesian forces and against apartheid forces. Some of us participated in the struggle against apartheid. People will move military hardware into Limpopo River. We were attacked in Bulawayo for supporting MK. We have brothers and sisters that after the liberation of Zimbabwe in 1980 joined MK. There was ZIPRA, they joined MK. And they fought the apartheid regime. Thomas Nkobi, that whom you celebrate, he was a Zimbabwean born in Bulilima. He was one of the many people of Matabeleland that joined the ranks of the African National Congress in the struggle against apartheid. There are many that paid with their lives, who were not South Africans, by the way. There are many. So when you then say you are recovering from apartheid, as if we, the people, particularly the people in Matabeleland, did not fight for the liberation of South Africa, you need to check your history. In fact, Kukurahundi The creation of Kukraund was part of a plan to destabilize Matabeleland so that MK cannot use Matabeleland as a military corridor to infiltrate South Africa. This is why Kukraund, the 5th Brigade, which killed a genocide being committed, killed more than 50,000 people of Matabeleland and parts of Migrants, so that MK could not move from Zambia through Matabele, North Matabele, and South to South Africa. Our brothers and sisters in Zipra joined the ranks of MK and they fought for the liberation of this country. Only reactionaries in South Africa will keep on saying we fought apartheid alone. It's untrue. They are reactionaries. They know nothing about the struggle for national liberation. What they know is to mobilize young people and they block health facilities in Cosmos City and other areas. In the name, we fought apartheid alone. These foreigners were not there, were enjoying in their own countries. It's untrue. It's very, very untrue. And the comrades and patriot are not saying we owe us anything. We're simply stating the facts. We cannot reverse history. We cannot change history. That's what it is. We fought against Rhodesian forces. We fought against the white minority rule in Rhodesia together with the comrades from the African National Congress. We fought together. We were together in the trenches. We fought together against apartheid. It's a history. We can't change it. It's a history. And we are saying, and we have always said, uh, uh, that the relationship between ZANU-PF and the ANC only started with the Unit Accord of 1987. ZANU-PF never contributed to the struggle against apartheid. I remember when we were at the memorial service of the late Dumiso Dabengwa in Johannesburg City Hall. One MK cadre narrated how MK guerrillas were removed from outside Gwanda, just around Bedbridge, and they're forced to go back to Zambia because the plan with the Zebra was that after the liberation of Zimbabwe, they will then be based in Bedbridge, where it was going to be easy to infiltrate South Africa. And they fight. But what did we receive? A genocide. The arms that were said to be discovered when the current president of Zimbabwe, Emmerson Mnangagwa, flew from Harare in the same plane with Dr. Joshua Nkomo to Bulawayo, and then went to a farm and they claimed that Zipra was keeping military hardware to topple the Mugabe government, were in fact the MK arms. And they were suffered for that. But we cannot use that as an excuse to say, no, accommodate us because we fought. No, we cannot use that. This is why we are saying the people of Zimbabwe must be allowed to elect the leadership of their choice and rebuild their country, because the struggle for national liberation was to, its aim was to ensure that there's economic development, people were to share in the resources of their countries. The liberation struggle was not that the people will flock to South Africa. That was not the aim of the liberation struggle, no. But it's unfortunate that in Zimbabwe we were betrayed in 1980 by the imperialist forces. So, comrades, as I'm concluding, yes, we can do much, share information on Facebook, and our heart goes out to people that are denied access to clinics. We are receiving information that some are on ARV, they are taking ARVs, they are being denied to do so. Some are suffering from chronic illness, they can't go there. Some are pregnant women, they cannot do checkups in clinics because some reactionary forces have taken it upon themselves to seal off the hospitals and the clinics. We call on the South African government to protect every person that is in the borders, within the borders of South Africa. And if any person has violated the immigration laws, the law is very clear on how to deal with such individual. Please share with us your own experiences wherever you are. Please like this video. Uh, 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 Comrade Waipon, I don't want to return to this because Comrade Mzansi will stay say I'm being emotional and blackmailing and I'm blackmailing you. When you write to say so that other people fought apartheid with us means that the whole of Zimbabwe and the other countries should come to South Africa. I have just said the struggle for national liberation was that SADC and the rest of the African continent should develop, right? That was the basis of the struggle. That all of us, we should share in the resources of our respective countries. But the poor people, ourselves, the poor, were not the cause of the destruction of our own economies. We are not the authors of our own suffering. I was listening to President Emerson Mnangagwa. He's in Senegal. He was painting this picture that everything is milk and honey in Zimbabwe, when we know that people are suffering. He was speaking, I think, yesterday in Senegal, and everyone was clapping hands for him. He was saying that Zimbabwe would now be exporting wheat. Zimbabwe is manufacturing its own fertilizer, saying all nice things. But we know that the people in Zimbabwe are suffering. It's a reality. This is why people are flocking to South Africa, because they are suffering. But when he goes to foreign lands, he paints this picture which says everyone in Zimbabwe is happy. While he was speaking in Senegal, his own people have been refused treatment in South African clinics. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and we continue to engage. Otherwise, have a great day. Goodbye, comrades.